This is a Guide Your Light network production, creating podcasts with purpose.
Hello, I'm Maritza Barone. Welcome to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast. Has there ever been a moment in your life where you heard, read, or were told something that you simply could not unhear?
Something that made you stop in your tracks and helped you to see the world differently in some way, a better way. On this podcast, we create those life-changing moments for you through interviews with some of the world's most profound people around the globe. We explore groundbreaking ideas in health and well-being.
What we're really doing is getting to the root cause of your symptoms. And often we find that that is an emotional block that we have been carrying around in our body that's become almost crystallized and created a physical symptom.
Relationships.
And for women as well, when I talk about respect, it's called respecting yourself, which is don't overgive. Women will tend to put themselves one down, and then wake up at 40 and go, wait a second, I am woman, I deserve respect.
Personal and professional transformation.
This is true of any skill. You only develop it by doing it. And so, if you don't get out there and just start doing it and being a bit rough around the edges at the beginning, you can't work on your craft. And so it can't turn into something.
Spirituality.
Because I think when we know who we really are, we think we're our name and our body and our form and our hair and our clothes and our skin and but when we know who we really are as infinite beings, we're free.
And so much more. So settle in. This might just be a big day for you where you hear something that changes your life in the most transformative way. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Thank you for being here and clicking play on this very important episode. Now, I wanted to let you know, in March 2024, I will be flying over to Cambodia with Project Gen Z and a group of social entrepreneurs to visit Sunrise Cambodia, which is a home for orphaned, abandoned, and at-risk children. And it's a place for education for hundreds of children from poor communities in Cambodia. The charity is founded and run by Geraldine Cox, who I have invited onto the show today to share her courageous story of how she started the charity and how she has continued to help hundreds and hundreds of kids since 1993 that are rescued from unthinkable situations and are provided a home, food, clothing, schooling, medical care, but most of all, love. Geraldine works tirelessly to raise funds to keep the charity functioning year after year and giving this lifeline to these children and taking them into adulthood so that they can find employment and sustain a fulfilling life. So I want to do my part to help her in this mission. And while I'm over in Cambodia in March 2024, I'll be sharing my journey across social media so you can see the Sunrise Cambodia home and what we are doing with the Project Gen Z team to work with the kids over there. Now, there's a link in the show notes where you can click to donate to the Sunrise Cambodia cause, where you can pitch in to support these kids using my Project Gen Z fundraising link. At the time of recording this, we have already raised $4,000, and I would absolutely love your help to double that by chipping in any way that you can. So you will find that link in the show notes. Thank you for listening to this episode number 1, for donating if you choose to donate. And also, I'm asking if you could share this important episode with someone in your life, or perhaps a corporation that might also be able to donate in a bigger way. If you haven't already, of course, hit subscribe to Things You Can't Unhear, because I can't wait to share the magic that is coming for you on this show this year. Thanks again for listening. Enjoy this chat with Geraldine Cox. Welcome, Geraldine Cox, to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast.
This is a real pleasure for me. I'm looking forward to talking to you and your listeners.
I have no doubt we're going to be hearing many things that are unhearable from this conversation. I've actually just told you I've spent the whole morning listening to podcasts that you've been on and interviews that you've done. You're definitely a seasoned professional when it comes to talking. I suppose that's been your career for the last many decades.
I never knew I could use my ability to speak to raise money. And it wasn't until the coup happened in 1997 where journalists came from all over the world, and I had them out at the orphanage because we were badly threatened by the soldiers, that I was able to speak. And I was on CNN and ABC and every large news service. And then after that, I got contacted by many people to talk. And I didn't know until 1997 that I could actually talk to raise money. So here I am again, talking to raise money.
Yeah, and it turns out you got a wild sense of humor, I noticed on listening to many of your episodes and interviews that hopefully comes out today. I have the pleasure of joining you in March 2024. I've been trying to come over to Sunrise Cambodia since 2020, and obviously COVID hit and threw the spanner in the works, but I'm actually coming to join you all with Project Gen Z, and I'm super excited. And I have invited you on today, not only to share what you do and your story and your mission, because it's so important, but to also help to actually raise funds. I know you're unapologetic about asking for money, and so you should be. I think it's such an important thing that you are doing, of course, in helping the children of Cambodia and homing them and showing them love and support. And so when it comes to asking for money, you're not ashamed.
A few years ago, a friend of mine that I used to work with at Chase Manhattan Bank, she's a banker, she wrote to me and she said that she just had an important lunch with her big clients. And one of her clients said, had been on TV the night before. And this client said, "Oh, anyone see that stupid woman with the chopstick in her hair? I can't stand her. She's from Cambodia and she's loud and she's aggressive and she's pushy." And I wrote back to my girlfriend and I said, "What are you talking about? They're my attributes." If people don't know who you are, where you are, why you're doing it, what you're doing, and how to get money to you, your charity won't get anywhere. So women's groups, churches, schools, Bunnings, Sizzles, just about anywhere I can get my foot in the door. I'm planning to sit in malls when I go back to Sydney next and have my TV screen and a table and chair and sit in the malls and like the Red Cross and the Salvation Army do, anything to get $1.
It's not an easy thing that you do, that's for sure. And, you know, using what the skills that you have is so important. It's funny, when you came on, your name on your Zoom was Mum.
All right.
and I, for a minute, I was like, my mum's joining this chat?
I love seeing it too, because this whole journey really started when I was 23, when I found out I couldn't have kids. I got dumped then by my very wonderful Greek boyfriend who I was in touch with until he died, and he dumped me. And so I joined the Department of Foreign Affairs to sort of get a new life and travel. If he hadn't dumped me, I wouldn't be here in Cambodia. That was the first step that put me in this country. That thought I would never be a mother, never hear anybody call me mum. I mean, I hear it so many times a day. Mum, 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 come here. Mum, what are you doing? Mum, this. Mum, I've got a stomachache. And to hear so many kids call me mum, it just really brings joy to me every day.
You tried for a long time to have children.
I started when I was 23. Back in those days, it was pretty primitive. They'd put a hose inside you and squirt you full of water, like, hardcore water, until you thought your head was going to blow off. And then after that, they did it with gas. That didn't work. I have blocked fallopian tubes. And then I went on to Chinese medicine, acupuncture, all sorts of crazy things, faith healing. I finally had microscopic surgery in my early 40s and nothing worked. And I was so pissed off with the universe. And I'd see people in the street, young women with babies in pushers and they didn't have shoes on and they had runny noses and, they weren't being cared for. And I thought, it's not fair. That woman's not taking care of her baby, My life now is full of being a mum.
How many kids have called you mum in your life?
Well, I've had 800 come through Sunrise. We've got just over 60 residential kids 24/7, including disabled kids that are here. And they're my family. I eat with. I live on the centre, so I'm here 24/7. And then added to that, there are currently 400 children that come every day from the poor community and they get an education. Every day I have about 460 kids calling me mum.
You got what you wished for, and you got it in the most
Yeah.
extravagant way.
I suppose when I really realised this is what I was going to do, a girlfriend and I had watched a documentary about someone who had moved a whole lot of orphans from the border of Thailand into Cambodia and set them up in an orphanage. And she rang me and she said, if they can do that, we can do that. So it wasn't my idea, it was my girlfriend's idea. And I remember the night I was watching Absolutely Fabulous with a glass of Chablis. And I thought, oh, shit, what's this girlfriend got me into now? It wasn't until the first trip with her when I saw the kids on the border. There were only 24 of them then. And it was like a feel-good, Anna, good person mission, right? One off. And when the kids came out and we gave them their toys and clothes and food and books and everything, and when those first 24 kids walked out and ran towards me, they didn't call me mum then, but the need just hit me. And I could hear the universe say, oh, thank God she's finally got it. These are the kids that are going to be hers now, thank God. And that was a really important day for me when I realised that this was going to be my life.
How long ago was that, Geraldine?
93, 30 years. This is my 30 years in Cambodia. I was 50 when I started.
And so from that moment, how did it start to roll out and become what it is today? Take us on the journey from that moment.
Well, when I first met those kids, they were under the protection of King Sihanouk's son, Prince Norodom Ranariddh. And as fate would have it, back in Cambodia in the 1970s, when I was at my first posting here in Cambodia, the prince and his wife were the landlords of my embassy apartment. And I would go every month to have a coffee with them and give them their rent. And so I had this marvelous contact, not that we were deep friends or anything, but I had contact with them. And so in 1993, I came after my divorce, I came to Cambodia because during 1970, we could never see Angkor Wat. It was too dangerous. The Viet Cong were there, and I saw it from the air, from a helicopter with the ambassador. And it was just breathtaking. And I swore I'd come back and see it, personally. And then when I came back in 1993, I could see that the need to help kids was just as bad as it was back during the war. And that's when it all started. And then I had a long career with foreign affairs. I was here in Cambodia, then I went to the Philippines, Thailand, Iran, where my greatest distinguishment was I married the only alcoholic Shiite Muslim in existence. And then my last posting was Washington. And then I came back to, I resigned and came back to Sydney, where I worked for Chase Manhattan Bank for the country director. I got fired when I was 50. And I thought, what am I going to do? I'm a 50-year-old overweight secretary in Sydney. What am I going to do? And then that year, there were the first free and fair elections in Cambodia that had since the war. And Prince Ranariddh was elected as the Prime Minister. And I thought, well, that's not bad. That's a contact. And I contacted him, and his wife said, can you please go to this orphanage on the border? We can't get there. And it's not about what you know, it's about who you know and your contacts. It's like a big jigsaw puzzle where things and people pop into place and you never know when the next contact's going to come from. So I contacted the Prince in 1993 and I said, I leased your apartment and I worked with the embassy. I wasn't able to do anything to help your people, but I find myself in a position where I can offer help. Is there anything you want us to do? And they invited us to this border camp. So that's how it all started. And then when the coup happened, and I came back in 1995, when I was fired from Chase Manhattan, back from 93 to 95, I just fundraised in Australia. And I made 2 trips a year during my holidays to see the kids. And then in 1995, when I got fired, I thought, well, this is the universe's way of saying, get your fat ass up to Cambodia. That's what you're meant to be doing. So I came here then, worked with the Prince and the royal family, and I thought, this is pretty hot. I'm working for the Prince and the cabinet, and this is pretty good. And then the coup happened in 1997, where the military power, Hun Sen, ousted the Prince, and I was in deep shit because I was working for the royal family. And foreign countries were sending their planes to evacuate all their embassy personnel and so on. And I wasn't with the embassy then, I was private, but the embassy people and I had good contacts. And when the bus was leaving for the airport from the embassy, they had to pass by my house, and they stopped at my house and said, "Get on the bus." She said, "Bitch, right? Get on the bus." And I said, "No, I could never have another night's sleep if I didn't know what had happened to my 60 kids. Sorry, I can't go." It was a really scary time. When the immediate danger was over, and before that I couldn't get to the kids, but when I was able to drive through the tanks and, you know, all the bodies in the street and everything, I got to the orphanage, and I drove through the gates, and the kids came from everywhere. They'd seen on television and radio that all foreigners were picked up by planes and flown to their home countries. And they were yelling out, "Mum's here, she didn't go, she loves us, she stayed, come look, she's here, she didn't go." And it was a really euphoric moment. I don't remember getting out of the car. The kids pulled me out of the car, and they just couldn't believe that someone loved them enough to stay at a dangerous time like that. And that's one of my most euphoric moments with the kids.
Yeah, I mean, there must be so much resilience that you've had to build up over time, and the stories that you consistently hear that
Yeah.
possibly break your heart. Tell us about some of the kids. Tell us about their personalities and what they've come from and where you've brought them in.
Oh, well, out of the 60 odd I've got at the moment, there are 15 kids that have been abandoned in hospitals, and none of those kids were their papers of who left them, who we can contact. Was it their mother or a villager? We have no background on these kids whatsoever. So they are totally alone. They don't have a sausage in the world. And they are the ones that suffer more. We have a family day on Sundays where a grandmother or an aunt or a brother or someone can come and visit the kids. And all the kids that have someone visit, you know, enjoy time with their family. And then after that, kids are cruel, you know. The kids that have visitors, they say to the kids that have no family, "That was my grandmother today. You don't have anybody visit you. You don't have any family." So on Sundays, I have happy kids who had families visit, and I have 15 kids that are walking around in tears. And they are my most vulnerable ones. And I'm not supposed to have favorites, but they are the ones that need me the most, the ones that don't have anybody. And I counsel them when they're of an age where they can understand me in their early teens. I say to them, don't let who you were and where you came from define who you're going to be and what you're going to do. And that's something I drum into them all the time. Just recently, we had a grandmother come, it was only a couple of months ago. She said she was 55, but she looked 80. And she said, all my children dumped their kids with me. And so over the years, I've looked after 11 of my grandchildren. And she said over the last 2 years, 6 of them died because they didn't have enough money to get to a clinic or pay for their drugs. And she said, I've got 4 left and I don't want them to die. So will you take them? How can you turn down that? Recently, last year, we raided a brick factory with the cops, and children from the age of 7 were spending 8 hours a day throwing bricks on trucks all day, 8 hours a day, just for food. And so I went in there with the police help, and we were able to get 9 kids out. And they were also being abused by the men in there. And we got 9 kids between the ages of 9 and 12. And in a case like that, we know they've been abused, I had to take them and have STD tests done. And one girl had herpes and another girl had herpes and chlamydia. And it just breaks your heart when you see those results on a 9-year-old kid. No, they're my 2 most recent intakes. But we get a lot of our kids who have been trafficked from here over the border into Thailand, into slave trafficked, prostitution, begging rings, construction workers on slave labour, illegal adoption rings, and illegal adoption rings, yeah. And every now and then, maybe twice a year, the Thai police round up all the kids they know are Cambodian, and they ship them over the border back into Thailand. And there's a few camps along the border that take these kids, and they contact places like Sunrise and other orphanages, and we get those kids. So those kids, when they come, well, they're damaged, and they see me and they look at me, and every adult in their life has hurt them in some way, and they see me and they think, what's this one going to do? And when I bend down, when they come and I try and introduce myself to them, I bend down, I put my hand out, and it's like if you put your hand out to a stray dog and they run away because they're afraid of you. It's like that when I first meet. And after a few weeks, when I've been able to show them that I'm not going to hurt them, I tell them, darling, the worst is over now. Everything's going to be all right from now on. I promise. The worst is over. But to keep that promise to these kids, I need money. I can't keep that promise alone. I need 65,000 Australian dollars a month to look after 480 kids. Not easy. And in Australia, my biggest drawback is that 90% of the population wants their charity dollar to stay in Australia, which I get completely. So I've got a target of 10% of the Australian population, and half of them have never heard of Cambodia. So my target is people who know me personally or have been to Cambodia and been absolutely hypnotized by the country like I have been. But, you know, the pressure of having to raise $65,000 a month takes its toll.
Taking a quick minute to interrupt this conversation to let you know about something exciting I am growing. As you might know, I'm incredibly passionate about helping people to find and share their voice, especially if their voice is one that aims to create positive change in others. And I've launched a podcast network with purpose. It's called the Guide Your Light Network, that features podcasts and voices that inspire, educate, and transform listeners. And we have a library of podcasts that are part of our network that truly embody that mission, and we're looking for more. If this has sparked interest in you and you are ready to start exploring speaking and using your voice in this way, I'd love for you to check it out. Also, if you have something important to say and you don't know where to start to bring that to life, we can also help you to craft your authentic message through our Guide Your Light online sessions to help you get super clear on your intention, messaging, and structure needed to launch a podcast of your own that is authentically you. Just head over to guideyourlightnetwork.com.
What happens if you don't raise that money? What are the repercussions?
We have a short-term deposit account where we've got some money and we take it out of that. But that short-term deposit money isn't going to be there forever. Yeah.
And what happens to the kids once that runs out?
Pre-COVID, I lost half my sponsors because they'd lost their jobs and their homes and everything. And I was down to, I only had 4 months operating money. And I was looking at having to put all the kids into government orphanages, which you wouldn't want to put a dog in, losing my salary, having to put my house and all my assets for Sunrise back to the government. And I was put in a position where I'd have to go and live with my driver and his family. I couldn't come back to Australia. My family's too old to look after me. And I wouldn't have had an income, and I wouldn't have asked friends to put me up and look after me and feed me. So I was looking at having to be without a job and a salary and live with my driver. And I told a very close friend, Janine Hosking, she's the one that did my Khmer Heart documentary that won the Hollywood Award. I told her about my problem. I was really in bad shape, mentally and emotionally. And she said, leave it with me. A couple of hours later, I got a call from a Current Affair. And they said, we've heard about your situation. Do you want to be on the show? And I said, yeah, when? And they said, in 10 minutes on Zoom. And I said, oh, Christ, let me go and put some makeup on something, And because I hadn't had time to prepare for an interview or know it was happening, I was completely raw. And I said that what I was facing, I couldn't feed the kids properly. Pre-COVID, we used to have a huge bowl of rice, soup with, meat and vegetables and a stir-fried dish, 3 pieces of fruit a day, and I was down to having to give them 1 small bowl of rice and soup. That was all I could give them. And I said on television, I said, I can't feed my kids. And what do you say to a 7-year-old that says, where's my fruit? I want a mango. And I was pretty upset on the show. And over the next 3 weeks, I got $650,000 from the Australian population. That's our short-term deposit that's there for a rainy day. And I was blown away by the generosity of the Australian people at that time. I was not expecting anything like that.
You've certainly been led in this path and guided in so many ways and shown the support. But
the mindset side of it thing, you touched on, and what you do must be tough on you, and you give so much love and support to all of these kids.
Yeah.
Who helps you when times are tough? Do you have a support base? Do you have some practices that keep you centered and keep you going back and keep you strong?
Well, I have a very close circle of friends, but most of them are in Australia and they're not in a position to help me financially, but they're there as friends. I have a wonderful sister that supports me, and the kids. The kids look at me; they think I can do fucking anything.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I can do anything. And when they look at me, they have no idea the worry I have about raising money for them. They think I'm invincible, and knowing that the kids rely on me totally just forces me to find a way to get the money. I'm not a religious person. I talk to the universe every day and say, I need money. Get your finger out and send me some money. And they did with the current affair. We've also had recently some sponsors die, because when I started, I was 50. And so most of my sponsors then were around about my age, and they're now 80. I'm coming up 80 soon. And some of them are dying, and they're leaving us money in their will. So every now and then we get a big donation like that, which is just money falling from heaven. And my management team come to me every month. She said, has anyone died this month?
I love how you and the kids are supporting each other. I love that was your answer. You do have your friends out there that help you emotionally, but I love that it's the kids that, give support back to you.
A wonderful Cambodian management team, and I don't share my worry with them, but they manage the bank account, so I don't have to tell them anything, so they know what's happening. And I've just recently found a fabulous successor. When I hit 70, I used to worry about, if I fall off the perch tomorrow, who's going to run this place? And it was a real worry. And I've known this woman, Tracy Shelton, when she was a volunteer back in 1997 after the coup. And she's just an amazing woman, and she's very close to the kids and me. And she's a journalist with war correspondence background, an amazing, courageous woman. And so I sent her an email saying, look, Tracy, this is a big request, so don't feel bad if you say no, because I'm asking you to change your life, move to a different country, leave your family and your friends and, a man if you have him. I want you to succeed me. These are your responsibilities, these are your benefits, but if you can't do it, don't feel bad. It will not affect our friendship. And after she got the email, half an hour after she got it, she rang me in tears and she said, Geraldine, you've offered me my dream job. She started on the 1st of October, and she's just brilliant. I can't think of a negative thing to say about her. The kids love her because they know her, because she's been coming here every year since 1997. The kids love her, the dogs love her, the staff love her. I was in bed the other night and I thought, Geraldine, the kids really love Tracy. Aren't you jealous? You should be jealous. And I talk to myself all the time. And I answered myself back and I said, no, Geraldine, you are just so happy and grateful the kids have got someone they love and trust. And Tracy's going to be a lifer like me. She's not here just for a few years. So since then, I feel like I've had a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. I don't have to worry about the future. Yeah. So I've handed over the head honcho job of country director to her. I remain on staff as the founder and fundraising ambassador, but I report to her now.
Oh, the more people that love them, the better, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And I said to her, Tracy, after 30 years of me saying to the staff, do this, do that, move that, change that, don't like this, and pushing people around and getting things done, it's going to be hard for me to give you advice. And I said, I promise I will never give you advice unless you ask for it. And she knows me well, and she said, yeah, right.
How long's that lasted, Geraldine?
Yeah, well, she's only been here. I haven't done anything wrong yet, but she's only been here less than a month, and just over a month. And we have this code now, because apart from fundraising, which I do every day, I'm writing my second book, which is called I'm Still Here. I'm writing that book now. And so we've got this code that if I butt in or criticise or tell her I'm not happy about anything, the code word is, how's the book coming along, Geraldine? And never it'll leave the room.
Go and work on your book quietly.
Yeah.
Take us through the journey of when the children are with you and when they actually go out into the world on their own and once they're grown up, because I know that education is a huge part of what you
how long have you got? I mean, when the kids turn 18, the ones that pass the public school grade 12, we get scholarships to go to universities in Phnom Penh. It costs between 1,000 and 1,500 Australian dollars university fees. So we send them to university. I've got doctors, lawyers, civil engineers, agricultural specialists, bankers, social workers, tourists, people working in tourism and hospitality, general administration and management. We've just got this huge range of kids out there that are earning more money out than I'm getting. And it's just wonderful to see what kids can do if they get an opportunity. The ones that don't pass grade 12, we get them vocational training. Not everybody's academic. I left school at 15. I didn't even finish grade 9. So it's important that we give the kids that can't go to university vocational training, and they get that in plumbing, electricity, car mechanics, generator repair, hospitality. And for our gay kids, we give them beauty vocational training. So nobody leaves here at the age of 18 without either a uni course, a 1-year vocational training, or some of them are ready for a job. So no one lives here without being financially independent. So that I'm really proud of.
You should be proud of that. That's an absolutely.
And we've got lots of kids come back on as staff. We've got one guy, Pem Sawn. He was a previous Sunrise kid, and he's back now as our human resources admin officer. When he got his university degree in architecture, he got interested in fashion, and he worked part-time while he was studying in a fashion shop, and he did some fashion courses, and he entered an international art fashion competition, and he topped the world, and he won an international fashion award, and they flew him to Berlin for his award. And I mean, how good is that? And a few months ago, the Southeast Asian Games were held here, and 3 of my kids won gold in boxing, a girl. Her brother won silver, and another girl in tennis won a gold medal. And I was just speechless with joy. But it's just what life throws in front of you. And, I see kids every day in the street begging or in bad situations, and I look at them and I think, if I could bring you to Sunrise, what could you be? Because I've got kids here that are so bright. We've got one boy playing the piano, and he was assessed in Australia as being Australian Conservatorium of Music scholarship material. He's so good. And he'd never even seen a piano until he was 13. And you want to hear him play. He plays Flight of the Bumblebee in my house to entertain me when I've got kids here. And that's the fastest classical piece ever composed. And I said to him the other day when he played it, I said, "You made a few mistakes, Panat." And he said, "Yeah, I know, Mum." He said, "Your piano's not fast enough."
I love that you've given them someone that believes in them. And then sometimes that's all people need in order to thrive.
And Sundays are wonderful. It's my open house day. They all know I'm home on Sunday, and I could have 2 kids. I could have 12. They come here, they bring food and cook for me, and I supply, the beer and the wine, because some of them are 25, 30. And so every Sunday, I know I'm going to have kids come and tell me about their lives. I've got 2 weddings in the next 6 months of kids that are getting married. And it's just wonderful to go to those events, because out of all the guests, there's about 10 tables of ex-Sunrise kids that are there with their wives and so on. So I'm treated like a queen when I walk in the door. So yeah, I like that.
Rightfully so, Geraldine. Rightfully so. I know the situation in Cambodia has been testing for many years, but what's the situation there now?
Well, everybody knows about the Vietnam War and the atrocities of the Pol Pot days. And during the coup, the military commander overthrew the royal family, and he's a tough man, and he's done some terrible things. But you can't judge people if you haven't walked in their shoes. He was born during the war, had very little education. He was part of the Khmer Rouge as a soldier, but he was very against Pol Pot, and he escaped from the army. But the things that have happened to him in his life made him who he is. But he has been wonderful to us. This is a really funny story. I met him during the coup when we were forced out of the orphanage, and the only person that could help us was him. And I was his enemy during the coup because I worked for the royal family. So I forced myself to to get an invitation to take the kids there and say, look, being removed from the orphanage, I've got 60 kids, I've got nowhere to go. And during the coup, I'd spoken to international journalists and TV shows, and I'd called him a gangster, a killer, and no better than Pol Pot. And I knew that he knew I'd said these things. So when I went there with the kids, I was thinking, I don't know how this meeting's going to go, because I know he knows what I've said. And at the end of the meeting, I apologized, went on my knees to apologize for what I'd said about him. And he said, you didn't have all the information at the time. And he said, Cambodia needs women like you to be mothers to our children. And he gave me Cambodian citizenship through the king. He gave us 10 hectares of land from where I'm talking to you today. And he has been very instrumental in keeping Sunrise going. And these last elections in July, he's getting on now, Hun Sen, and his eldest son, Hun Manet, who was a West Point military academy graduate from the US. He's taken over from his father, and he's a whole different mindset. His father, most of the cabinet people were, Pol Pot survivors and Vietnam War veterans, but Hun Manet is bringing a young, new government into power with new ideas, hopefully not as much corruption, and he's got plans to really move Cambodia into a new era of independence and financial stability. I've got a lot of faith in him. So people should look out for the name Hun Manet in the future.
That's really incredible to know. I want to talk about Project Gen Z now and talk about the involvement that Liz Volpe and her team have had with Sunrise Cambodia. I remember hearing Liz speak about 5 or 6 years ago on stage, and that moment when she knew she had to help over there and be a part of it. And she's just a driving force in what she does.
When she first came as a visitor here, there's very few people that visit us and don't go away with some kind of euphoria or feeling of how they can help. And Liz was one of those. And her project, and a Project Gen Z, was not all that big, was just getting off the ground. But she started, it's got to be 8 years ago now, maybe 10, of coming with her group. And they're young entrepreneurs in Australia who come and they have workshops with the kids through our interpreters. And we not only have kids from the orphanage, we get the poor kids from the community outside to come in as well. And they do workshops about being proud of yourself, having confidence, how to set up a small business, how to become an entrepreneur, how to make money, ways to lead a productive life, talking to them about choosing their partners, everything in their life. And the kids are there with their mouths open. Sometimes we have like more than 25 participants from Australia. In the past, each person that came had to raise, I think, $4,000 and pay, if that is a donation, and pay all their own expenses there. And she was able to do that. But when the kids, at the end of the Project Gen Z time, they have a contest where each little group of children have to choose a product that they have to have the confidence to go out in the street and sell. It could be T-shirts, it could be water, it could be anything. So these groups get together and they go out into the street and the market and sell, push themselves. And the winner of that in the past has got a trip to Australia and training through Project Gen Z and so on. The ones that win are the ones that get the most money. And when they come back and they're counting their money, how much they've made through not begging, but selling something, making people give them money like I do. Their sense of self-worth is tangible. You can see that they can see, I can do this. And it's Project Gen Z's philosophy that's helped them realize that they can be anything they want. And graduates from this program are like doctors and lawyers, people setting up their own business, doing online work. So many of the kids have got successful, financially independent lives through what they've learned with Project Gen Z. And I can't wait to see this next group. A lot of them are old attendees as well. And during COVID, of course, they couldn't come. And after COVID was over, they said, is Project Gen Z coming again? And I said, I don't know. And then I heard from Liz and I thought, wow, we have a family meeting every Tuesday night. And, it's about kids that have misbehaved, kids that have come first in the class, all kinds of things. And at this meeting, I said, tonight's surprise is that Project Gen Z is coming in March, and the kids were stamping their feet on the ground and cheering and everything. And the kids are just counting the days for you guys to come.
Yeah, I received that video on the WhatsApp group that Liz has created, and I was so pumped to be able. I'm counting the days down myself, in fact, to come over. It's been, as I said, a long time coming, and I'm going to be sharing the link to donate via our channels.
I've spoken about what Project Gen Z does for the kids, but what the kids do for Project Gen Z attendees, it's quite remarkable. Most of them become $50 a month sponsors or raise money for us in some way. You can see people being transformed and moved by what they see here. And it's wonderful to be in an organization that can change not only my kids' lives, but lives of people that visit. And I know that the same thing's going to happen this year. Can't wait.
It would definitely be that way. I've no doubt whatsoever. But I think it's so powerful when people actually step in and see the situation with their own eyes, feel what's going on, and feel how they can help on a first-hand basis. And that's why I'm so drawn to be able to come and experience that too, and be able to see the impact.
On this trip, some of the people are bringing their children as well. Are you bringing any of your kids?
I'm not this time around. I'm bringing my husband, but not bringing the kids. Yeah.
Okay. Right. This is the first time that my kids will see Project Gen Z attendees' kids, so I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah, amazing. Well, please, everyone, if you're listening, I'm not going to be shy about asking either. Why should we be when Geraldine has very clearly outlined the benefits of what these funds can do for these children and just how many children that you are helping. It's incredible. So I'm going to be popping the link in the show notes. Please just give anything you can, even if it's $5, $10. If you have more capacity to give more, please do. We're raising as much money as we can. We've already hit our $4,000 mark, which is great, but we're hoping to continue beyond that.
Okay.
And hopefully with your help.
It's all tax deductible as well, so that's worth knowing. And our admin expenses are only 7%. And I'm not putting down the big organisations like World Vision and Save the Children, which are huge, but some of those admin costs you can see on their websites, 60%. So that 60% goes to salaries and staff, and only 40% of your donation goes to the kids. With me, we only take 7% admin. So I'm really proud of that too, our low admin costs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important for people to know. And any resistance there, then we can definitely close that off and keep that giving going. Now, always ask people at the end of this podcast, what's something that you once heard that you could not unhear and that really stopped you in your tracks? And I suppose you've had a very colourful life. You've done some incredible things, but what was something that might stand out to you now that was said to you that made you change direction or do something differently?
Well, most of it's associated with Cambodia, of course. I mean, I had a very exciting life in the diplomatic corps, but it was pretty materialistic and selfish. But in Cambodia, you hear stories that really move you. One of my boys, 16, used to help me in the house with my filing and office work. And one day he was looking really depressed. And I said, "Darling, what's the matter?" And his eyes filled with tears. And he said, "Mum, why did my dad throw me away?" And you just put your arms around them because you can't answer their questions. And another really moving thing, we had a little boy, his name Lai Tai. His mother sold him into a begging room because he had cerebral palsy and he was crippled. And he was one of the kids that were brought back by the police to the border camps. And we went and got him there. And he was crippled. So we got calipers for him to help him walk. And I was doing the annual profiles of all the kids to send to their sponsors. And I decided that that time, a part of the profile would be, I'll ask all the kids, if you had half an hour with Buddha, what would you ask him for? It was really good. And the girls are saying jewelry, a rich husband, a beautiful house. The boys were saying a computer or a motorbike, but when all the expected things. And I got to little Lai Tai, he was sitting on a chair in the sun, swinging his calipered legs, and they didn't even reach the ground. And I said, "Darling, what would you ask Buddha for?" And he said, "Oh, Mum," he said, Buddha's very important and busy. I don't want to waste his time. I don't want anything, you know. I said, darling, I've got to put something on the profile for your sponsor. It must be something that you want. And it was getting towards the end of the day, and I was getting a bit cranky, and it was hot, and I was sweating, and I lost my temper, and I banged the table, and I said, you've got to be something that you want. Tell me. And he looked up, and he said, Mum, there is one thing. And I said, what? And he said, I would ask Buddha to make me a very good person in this life, because I must have been such a bad person in my previous life for my mother to throw me away and for me to be crippled. So if Buddha makes me good in this lifetime, maybe in the next lifetime I'll have a mother that loves me and keeps me, and I can walk and run with the other children. And it's stories like that. I've told that story a million times, and it always affects me. And these are the children that I have in my life that I'm able to change and know that they are loved. And Laitai is now 23, and he is a chef in a 5-star restaurant in the kitchen. So he says he's a good person in this life now. Yeah.
Do you believe in angels? I think you're an angel.
Oh God, I believe in the universe. I've got a spirit house. We're Buddhist here because children need to know that I follow their culture and so on. And I haven't studied Buddhism, but we go to the pagoda and we celebrate all the Buddhist holidays. And I've got a spirit house outside my house, and every week there's a Buddha day. Then everybody in the country goes to the pagoda and puts fruit and incense and so on. And I do this once a week. And I talk to the universe and I say, Jesus, Allah, Krishna, Jehovah, whoever's listening, spirit guides, wise ones, ancestors, anybody that loves me and Sunrise, we need your help. So I leave nobody out, and I'm not against religion, but I just don't see God. To me, is out of the room half the time. And what's going on in the world now, I just can't believe in how I was brought up. Buddhism is, to me, not a religion. It's a philosophy and a way of life, and it's something that comforts me. There's great tolerance. You don't have to confess. You don't have to go to church every week. It's karma. And basically, Buddhism is you do good, good will be done back to you. You do harm, harm will be done to you. And when the kids are naughty, we've got good naughty kids here that play and steal and hit and, all the things the kids do. And we used to give them punishments like cleaning the toilets, running around the football field 10 times and things like that. But in the end, I've said to them, there's no point me punishing you because half the time you don't do the punishment anyway. I'm going to leave it to Buddha and karma. And you can see them thinking, shit, it's worse than anything that Mum can give us to do.
If there's one last message that you wanted to share with anyone listening today that will entice them to get involved with Sunrise Cambodia and support the mission, what will those words be?
Cambodia is one of the few countries, along with, I think, India and Africa, when you visit, you're either really moved by it. Cambodia is one of those countries. People come here and they get off the plane and they're only here for a 2-week holiday, and 12 years later, they're still here. 30 years later, I'm still here. It's a hypnotic country. You see people in the street in terrible condition, poverty, and in rice fields working their guts out. And when you go by, they wave and smile. And I think, what have you got to wave and smile about? But they do. They're smiling all the time. And they've got indomitable spirit, this Cambodian race of people that have been through so much in the last 100 years. And I could never leave this country. Now, people say to me, are you going to be, the kids say to me, do you want to be buried in Australia or cremated here? And I said, that's a silly question. Of course, I want to stay here. I defy anybody that comes to the Project Gen Z for their lives not to be changed for the better forever. I can promise you that. And the kids, when I speak, I say to the kids, Mum's going to Australia to speak. Have you got a message for people that might give money? So all my Sunrise kids wish, everybody that's listening and those that might come onto the Project Gen Z, my kids wish you long life, health, strength, wisdom, and peace. Mm-hmm. And I looked at this list and I said to the kids, wealth's not on that list. And one of my 14-year-olds stood up and rolled his eyes and he said, Mum, if you've got long life, health, strength, wisdom, and peace, you're already rich. You should know that, And yeah, the kids teach me something every day, And I get really annoyed with people. They'll come up to me in the street in Australia and they'll say, "Oh, we think you're wonderful, Geraldine. You'll laugh with the kids." And that's not true. I've not saved the kids as much as they've saved me. I was on a materialistic, selfish, egotistical, hedonistic lifestyle in Sydney before I came to Cambodia. And the kids have transformed my life. I have so much joy every day, and they've given me that. It's not just me giving to them. What they've given back to me is far more than I've given them.
Absolutely. Beautiful sentiment to end on. Thank you for everything you shared today. I know there's so many more stories that you've got, and I can't wait to actually sit with you and hear them and share them beyond meeting you. It's just been an absolute pleasure. Please, 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 if you're listening, at least give some token of donation to the cause for Sunrise Cambodia and the kids that Geraldine is supporting. I'll share my link in the show notes. Please click on it, like I said, and let's get as much funds over to them as humanly possible. Thank you again, Geraldine, for being part of the show.
Thank you, Maritza, for the opportunity. Looking forward to seeing you in person.
Thanks for listening to the show. What did you think? And what did you feel? Let us know by leaving me a message on the Things You Can't Unhear Instagram community page. And if you can, give us some ratings love on your favourite listening platform.